Alright guys, welcome back to the WolfPack Podcast Episode 2. I'm joined today by Flexelsson, nokigear, HARRYCAPS, and Zio. Welcome guys.
Glad to be here.
Konnichiwa.
Hello.
Alright, and today we're going to be discussing the upcoming 1.59 Flaming Arrows update, and with the recent addition of the preliminary patch notes they released. So, we'll start things off just going down the list of the patch notes. Starting off with the new and updated vehicles with the United States. So we'll start off the T29, kind of what we're expecting of it and kind of what our thoughts on it are. Flex?
T29, I think, is going to be like a T20, T32, sorry, just less front plate armor, which will probably mean it's really, really good at long range hold down. At close range, it won't be as beast as the T32, so it will be one of those where you pay a lot for a compounding turret, but it's going to be a bit of a glass cannon if you go into close quarters. But I think at 6.7 it will be pretty good because, you know, it has weaknesses, but it also has strengths that a lot more tanks out of tier also do have. So I think it'll be good.
Alright, Noki?
I agree with Flex, but its armor is going to be quite similar to the T32 in a sense, where its hull, it's basically impregnable, and the only place where you can actually pen the hull would probably be the machine gun port, which I had mixed results when engaging the T32 in my Tiger 2H, and the lower glacis, which is pennable, but when hauled down, the tank is basically impregnable from the front. However, what concerns me, the gun. Even though it's a 150 millimeter gun,
105.
what kinds of round is it going to be using? I mean, is it going to have?
It's going to have the
round?
same rounds as the T95, so the armor-piercing ballistic cap and APCR.
Yeah, it may be in there. I mean, because like, think of the Sherman Firefly. It's the same gun as the Black Prince, yet the Sherman Firefly does not get sable rounds. So is the T29 going to be in the same boat as the Sherman Firefly, where it has a good gun, but it doesn't
No.
have the air mode that you want?
No, it still get no, it just gets the CBC, I believe. If you look, I think it was on Fly Daily. He did a video on it, but he only had HG and the APCBC, but you know that will change when it gets released fully.
Alright, Harry?
To be honest, I'm just going to stick with what Flexelsson said because everything I would have said about the tanks were said, so.
Yeah. Alright, and then Zio?
I kind of feel like the T29, it's going to be a 6.7, so it's going to go up against the heavy hitters that Germany and Russia have, and in a sense, the awkward match between America and Britain that happens every once in a blue moon. Though I think with a 105 millimeter cannon, it's going to do a lot of damage. But I mean, really, the way I would play the T29 is just find a spot, hold down, and just barrage the enemy from a long range. Play it smart instead of how I see most American tankers just pretty much rush. So I think if you hold down and snipe with the T29, you'll just win every time.
Agreed.
Yeah. I can definitely agree with a lot of this.
It's going to be like where majority of the American lines, majority of them are considered flankers because they're mobile. So, and not to mention, in World of Tanks, the T29 was best hauled down with its elephant turret. So probably the T29 is going to sit well. I'm assuming it's going to perform quite similar to the Carnarvon and the Centurion, where it has a great turret armor, but some weaknesses in the hull.
Yeah, I can definitely concur with all of that. Because the T32 currently has 300 millimeters of armor on its gun mantlet, and I think the T29, between the two plates that make up its gun mantlet, the first one being 200, the second one being 70, it's got that combined thickness of 270-ish. armor, which is pretty much by anything around the 6-7 area is impenetrable, unless you get that, once in a blue moon America versus Britain, where the Centurions Mark III Carnarvon have those APDS rounds that can probably punch through that at a close enough range, or even the Centurion Mark X. So yeah, I think that's going to be a very good hull-bound beast. And so let's move on here to the M551 Sheridan, the American ATGM vehicle. I'll let you start this one off, Noki.
Well, just by looking at the tank, clearly armor it's not as big as advantage, but it has anti-guided missiles on it and a 152mm cannon on it. So we're expecting it to be like the Leopard. It's going to be a glass cannon, but it doesn't seem to have the low profile that the Leopard has. Yeah, that's basically I only know so little about the Sheridan, but that's my perspective on it.
And then Harry, anything to add?
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be the sort of tank you would rush behind and flank with. Not you want to be. It's not the sort of thing you want to be taking head on against tigers and big tier tank sort of thing.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's going to be a glass cannon kind of thing where you're going to want to snipe from a distance. Or
yeah, but I definitely agree with what Harry says, and it definitely be something that I guess people with high skill will be using, because if you even get machine gunned, you're going to probably die. So definitely tactical and thought-out gameplay would be the best way to use it. And also that heat shell it gets, and as well as the ATGM it'll get, is going to make it a very deadly and worthy opponent to us, the tier 5 tanks.
Yeah.
Or tier 4s.
And then Zio?
I would say...
Good lord. Well, I mean, the M551 Sheridan, I mean, it does have the 152mm cannon, and what I think is interesting about it is that it fires the ATGM through the cannon reach, so that gives it a little bit more of an edge over, like, say, the IT-1 Dragon, because the IT-1 it fires outside of the tank. So someone, say, I don't know, an American or even a German or a British tanker can see it, shoot the missile, and maybe get an ammo rack out of it, or just one shot it. Though the fact that the Sheridan the way it fires is really interesting, because it can also shoot the main gun with a 152mm shell and then fire a missile out of it with the reload. I find that it's going to be one of those flanking tanks, because it's going to be under the light tank. It's going to be in the light tank tree. So it's going to do like the Walker Bulldogs, the Chaffies, the T-92s, where they just flank and then just start picking off the enemy from behind. But with the ATGM, it's just gonna be the way I would play it would just be flank and then stay at a well enough distance to where the ATGM has it's in that minimum distance to where it has time to arm and then kill whatever crosses my path.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the only thing I would add to this is the one thing we're going to have to keep in mind with the Sheridan is with its heat rounds, it's a very short-barreled, well, relatively speaking, it's a short-barreled 152. So those heat rounds are very, very low velocity in comparison to most of the other heat rounds in this game. So it's actually going to be an interesting way, because I think what those heat rounds are going to be is that last resort close range engagement kind of a weapon, because those heat rounds are not going to be able to be used very well at great ranges, but that's where the ATGMs will come in.
Something I would add is that I see the M551 Sheridan like when the M18 was first introduced into the game. It's going to be a really good flanker. It's going to annoy the hell out of the Tiger or German tanks or any heavy tanks in general, actually. But something I would add though is that I recall Gaijin mentioning that the anti-guided missiles on the Sheridan, you're gonna need to first unlock it. So unlike the other anti-guided missile tanks, where it's already included, I believe the Sheridan, they're gonna initially in stock. You're gonna be firing like the normal rounds and all,
Yeah.
and you're gonna need to research the ATGMs before you can actually fire those.
Yeah. All right. So in the interest of time, we're gonna speed things up a little bit here. So kind of move in to do the other 3 vehicles that are going to be added to the US tree kind of all at once. The M48A1, the Patton 3, which will be at a BR of 7.7. There's the LVT-A1, which will be the new American Reserve tank, amphibious. And then they're adding a new bomber for the United States, the B-18, which will be a BR of 2.0. So, Harry, if you have any comment on any of those 3 vehicles?
To be honest, B29, I think it's going to be kind of the same as the other one in the game, but my favourite out of the bunch, definitely the LTV. It'd be very nice for the new players to be able to play some amphibious, see what they feel to work their way up to later amphibious tanks in other research trees, and even if they have the same one. But I think there's going to be a slight armour issue with it. Even though it's low tier, I do think very thinly plated, but yeah, I do like the look of it. It's the favourite out of everything.
All right, Zio?
I am a little excited about the B-18 because it was essentially it was a commercial aircraft turned into a bomber, much like the German Condor. I think it should do well at 2.0 because at that point at 2.0 there's not a lot of things with cannons, but I mean, it gets up tier to 3, then you start seeing cannons. I'm a little on edge about the B29 updated model. I don't know if they're gonna like nerf it or if they're gonna make it stronger. I mean, in my opinion, all bombers should be able to take a pounding before like the wing gets ripped off. I am excited about the P61 getting a cockpit. That is, I believe, something that's a little bit long overdue. The Patton 3, I think sitting at 7.7 is a good place for it, and I hope it does well as I hope it does.
All right, Flex?
I'm actually most excited for the B-18. I think it's going to be fun. The low tier it's going to be because it can take a pretty hefty bomb load. And also, it looks very cool as well. The B-29, I really do hope it gets better survivability. Apart from that, really, the new reserve tank looks very interesting. Looks fun. But yeah, that's really it. I think about that.
All right, Noki.
Well, for me, likewise for Zio, B29, little on edge, but the way you said how bombers are supposed to take a pounding, while I agree with you, a bunch of other people, however, they will not see it that way, especially those that likes to camp behind the B-20 bombers' tails and get shot down instantly because they don't even plan to move. And then they blame it, oh, bombers are so OP, I can't even shoot it down. It shot me down. But I highly doubt that they're nerfing the B-29s. I read on the forums that apparently the B-29 is getting quad 50 cals under rear turret.
Good lord.
Not entirely sure if that's true or not.
I guess we'll find out.
B-18. Well, while it is low battle rating, the 30 cals, it's something I'm not that impressed about, even though I believe it's fine at 2.0, but my motto for bombers If it's not big, I'm not gonna fly it. Because I'm just all about big guns on bombers to do maximum damage. P-61 cockpit. I am also excited about that. I mean, heck, we need more cockpits for bombers. I mean, that was something Gaijin promised us 3 years ago, and it was quite upsetting to hear them say that a lot of people don't really like the idea, and they said that it's probably not practical in simulator, which was kind of a strange answer, but whatever. The M48A1, I'm honestly curious how that tank's gonna turn out. I'm quite excited for it actually. I mean, I don't know too much about the tank, but apparently it has a really good damage per minute. So maybe it's a tank that can compete in rate of fire with the British.
Possibly. For me, I'm probably one of the few people here who's not terribly excited for the M48. I'm not the biggest of U.S. tankers, despite being from the United States. I definitely look forward to playing it when I get around to getting up there, but that won't be for a while. But I am fairly excited for the LVT. My only complaint with the LVT is that it's a huge tank in compared to most other reserve tanks. It's got a very, very high profile, as well as the fact that it's a very small turret for a very, very big tank, so it looks pretty derpy. The B-18, that sounds like it's going to be a pretty fun little plane to take out early tiers. Give the United States something a little bit beefier to take out early tiers that actually has a good bomb load that's not a PBY. Very excited for the P-61 cockpit, and then honestly the B-29, I don't know what'll happen, nor do I care too terribly much. I'm not a heavy bomber pilot in the game at all, aside from like the PE-8, but so either way that goes, I don't think I'll care too much. And then we'll move on to the USSR. They are getting the IT-1 ATGM tank, which will be a BRF 8.0, the ASU-57, which will be a BR 4.7, the ASU-85 at a BR 6.7, the KV-2 ZIS-6 Premium, which will be 5.3. They're updating the model for the IS-3, and then they're getting the Yak-30 at BR 8.0, as well as the TU-4 Russian B-29 at a BR of 6.3. And I'll open this up to Zio.
Well, I mean, like I said with the M55 or 551 Sheridan, the IT-1 Dragon, I feel it'll do good. It won't do great. I mean, because a lot of people that I've seen with Russian tanks is they're all about the heavy hitting tanks. They're roll up, just annihilate everything, and then just fall back and then wait for reinforcements. I really don't know what to say about the IT-1. I've actually really never heard of it or heard about it until the patch notes came out. Honestly, I'm a little upset that well, I mean, Britain's not getting a mainline ATGM, but I believe the IT-1 it should perform rather good. Take it that people know how to actually use it, but I think as soon as the patch drops, it's going to be a lot of people who get it, mainly people using lions to research or eagles to research, and then just use eagles to just spade it. They're not going to know how to play it correctly because they're just going to wallet warrior it up, and when they get it, it's just going to be like, oh, I got an
Look at me, I'll do it
ATGM.
fine.
is like, I got an ATGM and then they shoot and then it's like, oh crap, how am I supposed to use this? I've never done this before. So I mean, I think at 8.0, it's top tier. It should perform well, but I think until people actually get the use of ATGMs, it's gonna be pretty easily killed, and it's gonna make a lot of people rage. But I mean, until people learn how to use ATGMs in all of them and like all the ATGMs, there's gonna be a learning curve with those.
Of course. I mean, from what I saw in the dev blog, well, people playing on the dev server actually, how the ATGMs are controlled by, it's by using the WASD key.
Actually,
And
that's not
watching,
Uh,
Really?
Yes, it is actually.
No, it's
The racket and
only
the Adpenser.
only the Rackets and Jagdpanzer will be controlled by WASD. The
Yes.
the
The others are
M551, the IT1, and the STRV81 will
wait,
all be
no.
controlled by the mouse.
No, the STRV one is WASD. I saw it on Baron's video actually. That's
Really,
yeah, because the others
it
are.
shouldn't be.
Oh, well, I think it is because it's the same as the rocket and the Adpenser. It's just a switch designation for the same rocket. It's
Alright
the
then.
Robots 52.
yeah, controlling the ATGM is extremely difficult, but extremely rewarding when the target hits. But a lot of people mention Russian bias and all that. I think the IT1 actually goes against bias because if you look at the Panzer, they have 2 ATGMs on top, while the IT1 not only has a slow reload, it only has one ATGM on it. So
Very true.
That is a 62 hot.
So it's quite amusing. But what the IT1 has is a low profile. I mean, it has a chassis of a T54, and then look at the turret. You could
62.
barely see the turret.
T55.
Oh, what is
The IT1 was based on the chassis of a T55.
T55.
First. Strange.
Or yeah. So, and then just Harry, if you have anything else.
Yeah, as a big Russian player myself, I will enjoy the IT1 actually because it does seem like your typical gun and run sort of tank. Hopefully they'll give it some good speed. I'm not 100% on what it's actually like, but it seems like my sort of tank to be honest. And KV2 ZIS-6 as well. That will be another one definitely used by me. Seems like a good sort of sniping tank. I can sit at long range and hit targets from afar and that sort of stuff, and I need to sort of power it up front. And yeah, of course the TU4 looks, be a good use.
Yeah, and just to kind of wrap this up, so the ASU 57 and the 85 are going to be in the same line as the PT 76, with the ASU 57 being at tier 3, and then the ASU 85 will be immediately after the PT 76. I feel like the ASU 85 is going to go under a lot of scrutiny, especially
yes,
because
Yes, it will.
it's going to have a 380 millimeter pen heat round or heat FS round,
Yeah.
and it's going to be a
It's
DR
the-
6.7.
It's
Which-
the only
It's
6.7
ridiculous.
tank that uses post-war ammunition. So I think that's going to bring up a
Well,
lot of hate
No,
on the Russians
that's
for
not
that.
true.
Yeah, not
Look
many
at the
people are going to be keen on
RS-244.
that, but it's going to be really lethal for anyone that's
Yeah.
definitely out in the field of it.
It's ridiculous, is what it's going to be.
Yeah. So, and then the KV2 ZIS-6 will be premium, and I think that'll be an interesting tank. I don't know if I'm going to buy it personally, but it'll be interesting to see how the long 107 plays. I mean, it's already taken to the name of the Pinocchio tank, because that's what it looks like. I'm very pissed at the Yak 30 being added. That's just, to me, more confirmation of Russian bias in a sense, because right now the Russians they just dominate at high tier jets because they had the MiG-15 and the MiG-15 bis, which were arguably on equal grounds with the Saber and the Hunter. And then they added the MiG-17, which kind of threw the favorability back into the hands of the Russians, and now adding the Yak-30 and the Yak-30D, that's just going to kind of even sway it even farther towards the Russians, in my opinion. And then the TU-4 is just going to be, it's the new Death Star. Regardless of what anyone says, you can't argue with it. It's 5 double 23mm turrets.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
going to have the new
definitely
biggest
doing
bomb
that.
load in the game of 4 3,000-kilogram bombs.
Which
True.
is
ridiculous.
I'm gonna jump
Four-
right in, but I actually have to go right now.
All right. Well, Noki will be leaving us, but we'll continue this podcast. Thank you,
We'll
Noki, for your
continue.
input.
Yeah. I'm stoked
Anyway.
about the Germans, the HE-162 of the 30 mils though. I'll say
yes.
that.
And that is coming up
Yeah,
right now.
definitely.
User
actually, Dirk,
disconnected
it's
from your channel.
3.5 ton bombs. So it's 3,500 kilos instead of 3,000. So
Really?
it's
They
like,
updated it. Okay.
yeah, it's like 12 tons of bombs. It's
Wow.
stupid.
Well,
That is ridiculous.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Dirk, but before the update, apparently, I did the math. 4 3,000-kilogram bombs, which equals to 12,000 kilograms, is 26,000 pounds of ordnance being dropped on something.
6,000 tons more than the B-29.
Yeah, I mean, hell, the B-29 can carry 40 to 500 pound bombs. That's enough. That is all 3 bomb bases with 8 left over. Or I'm sorry, 8, 16, 30. Yeah, with 8 bombs left over to attack the airfield or something like that. I don't know. My math might be off, but yeah, the TU-4 is going to be the new Death Star. I don't mind them adding the TU-4. I honestly, that's kind of an overdue thing. But I do agree with Dirk. The Yak-30, I am pissed because America isn't getting America nor Britain are getting any new jets. And like Dirk said, the MiG-15 and the MiG-15 bis, even the German MiG-15 bis, were all on equal terms fighting the F-2 Sabre and when they added the Hawker Hunter. Now, with the MiG-17, it not only messed up how everything was going in the current game or at high-tier jets, it literally took American and British jets, took them, threw them out the window, and it's like, okay, if you want to win in high-tier jets, grind for the MiG-17, because that way you'll win every time. And even me, like I only have 2 American jets, the P-80 and the F-2H-2 Banshee. I've only been able to kill a MiG-17 in a head-on, and that's after I literally made him fly into a literal wall of 20mm shells and just obliterated his aircraft. And that's the only time I've ever killed one. The ASU 57 and 85, I feel they're going to get a lot of scrutiny because they are going to be using post-war ammo. The PT-76 should not be at a 5.7. Honestly, I think it should be like at 7.0. The ASU should be like a 7.7, and the ASU 85 and the ASU 57 should be, I'd say 6.7. Like, just increase all of the BRs, because that way you don't have people using the PT-76, because I've, in my Tiger 2 Slaw 16, I've been literally one-shotted from the front of the tank by a PT-76 using Heat FS.
Yep.
And I'm
gonna have to
that's
cut
just-
you off really quick, Zio.
Alright.
Just in the interest of time, and we're gonna try to keep this on topic just to the update. So we're gonna move on really quickly, try to cover the other 3 nations, and then we'll wrap up this podcast. So we got Germany up next with the Rakuten Jagdpanzer, which will be 8.0 in AB and 7.7 in RB. The Sturr Emil, which will be a BR 6.0 planned. The Germans are getting a new reserve tank, the Panzer III-B, and then they're getting 2 captured vehicles, both of which I am excited for, the KV-2 754 and the T-34 747, as well as some new planes, the HS-123 at a BR of 1.3, the the new Heinkel 162A1, which will be a BR 6.7. They're updating the model of the Heinkel 162A2, and then they're adding the Heinkel 219A7, which will be a BR
It's a
4.3.
user-created one. That's user-created, which is awesome.
Yes, that is
Which
awesome.
it's also going to be premium.
And have 6 cannon.
Yeah.
And
So
it's-
for me personally, I am very, very excited for this Durer Emil. I have fallen in love with the Dickermax since 1.57. That has become my best tank. I don't have the most battles in it, but it has definitely racked up my most kills. I think I've got like a 3.6 KD with that tank right now. And the Sturr Emil is going to be the higher tier version of it with the 128mm cannon, the same cannon that's on the Jagdtiger, and a full BR lower. So, Flex or Harry?
There's going to be a lot of power behind this tank. It's going to be quite strong for its tier, I think, but it's going to have one weakness, and that's definitely going to be outflanking American tanks, such as Germans and that sort of stuff. But I think it looks like the sort of tank I'd definitely play. I'm very keen on it, and
it's gonna be beast.
But I think my favourite out of the Germans is definitely HG219, just because of its looks. It's a weird little thing, and I reckon we'll have some power behind it. But yeah, I reckon the Germans are going to get some good additions here and boost them up a bit, hopefully.
All right, Zio. Anything to add?
I'm like you. I am excited for this Sturr Emil. I mean, 128mm cannon at 6.0. Literally, you're going to be one-shotting everything. Though I
Yes.
feel that a lot of people won't play it right, as it should. Like the Dickermax, is that those are sniping tank destroyers. They're not meant to take full frontal assaults. They are meant to be in the back, laying covering the advance. I'm excited for the A1 of the 162, and I'm glad they're adding the B1 cockpit for the 109.
And then just one thing to add really quick is with the Rakuten Jagdpanzer, the ATGMs will be controlled by WASD, making it considerably harder to use, which is why I think they're doing it as a 7.7 for RB compared to the 8.0 for the 5.51 and the IT1. But yeah, aside from that, let's move on to, we'll cover Britain and Japan kind of in one go here, since they don't have too many updates between the two of them. The British are getting the Cromwell Mark V RP3, which will be their first rocket tank with unguided rockets. It'll be a Cromwell 5 mounted with 6 76mm rockets on the sides of the turret. They're getting the STRV-81, which is a Centurion with 3 ATGM rockets mounted to the side, which will also be controlled by WASD apparently. The British are also getting the Halifax Mark IIIA, a bomber that'll place itself between the Wellingtons and the Stirlings. They're getting the Westland Wyvern S4, the turboprop. It'll be a BR 5.0 and will be premium. And I'm personally looking forward to that vehicle, just for ground striking and tank RB. The British are also getting an updated model for the Spitfire Mark IX, and then the Japanese are getting the N1K1JA, the BR 5.0, as well as the Key 61-2 at BR 4.7.
I'd like to add the Sterling is going to have a quad 50 cal in the tail, so hopefully it'll be the best protected British bomber. So that should be quite nice.
All right, Harry.
I've sort of picked my favourite out of Germany and Britain here. And for Britain, I've definitely gone for the Cromwell Mark V. Very happy that Britain are finally getting rocket tanks now. And it does look like the sort of thing I will be rushing into the middle of the battlefield with, definitely. And with Japan, I love the look of the M1K1. just because that's my kind of playing really. Little fighter that I can whiz about on and just hit anything that's near me. Yeah.
And Zio.
Well, I really can't say much for the Japanese aircraft because I'm not even close to those. I am looking forward to the Westland Wyvern, and the Halifax because I'm much more of a bomber and sort of a ground attack pilot. I am sad that the British don't get an ATGM in the normal line. I don't like the fact that it's a premium at 6.7. I am looking forward to the Cromwell with the unguided rockets. I am a little sad that there weren't more British tanks added this patch, but hopefully, in the patches to come, they start focusing more on the British lines, and at least get more between tier 2 and tier 4 tanks, because tier 3 doesn't have a lot. But I'm just glad that Britain's getting some love in terms of tanks.
All right, and then really quickly, we'll just wrap up with some of the other minor changes and major changes that are going to be added. There's going to be new trauma packs, which can be used. It'll be a researchable modification similar to parts in FPE that'll allow you to heal one of your crew members that has been knocked out. They're going to add more of the add-on armor for more of the vehicles. These are including the M4A2, the M10 Wolverine, the IS-2 Mod 1944, the Panzer IV F2, Stu 42G, Stug 3G, Jagdpanzer IV, Panzer 470, the Premium Sherman Firefly, and the 17-pounder Achilles.
If I was to put in these trauma packs, I think they're one we've been missing out on these. Border tanks have had them for a while, and definitely something that we've used a lot in tanks, because you'll find quite a lot when you're sitting in the middle of the battlefield and you've got a gunner or you've got to drive it down, you sort of you can't really do much. So yeah, these will be definitely liked by.
I have mixed feelings about trauma packs. I mean, in my opinion, I liked Last Man Standing because it allowed people to pretty much, you had one guy left and you held the line with your last man. And I know I did it a lot of times in my Tigers. I am excited that more tanks are getting additional armor. And also I'm glad that the British the Battle of Britain map is getting larger to include pretty much or a good chunk of France. So I look forward to fighting on that map.
And I was just going to get to that. So they're adding a new map for combined battles as well for Tank RB and tanks in general. It's going to be Port Novorossiysk. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, but
Sounds about as good as they want to get, I think.
yeah. And I'm looking forward to that map. That's going to be a very fun map, I think, especially for low tier. And that'll be kind of a fun map to test out the LVT on, because it's going to have a lot of water. They're also adding in some new spawning mechanics for air battles. For ground strike battles in air, they're changing the distance between the spawns relative to the BRs. So for 1.0 to 2.0, it's staying at 8,000. For 2.3 to 4.0, it's being raised to 12,000 from its previous 10,000 meters. For BR 4.3 to 5.7, it's being increased to 16,000 between spawns from 14,000, and then for 6.0 and up, it's being increased to 22,000 meters between spawns from the previous 14,000. And then they're also changing the spawn altitudes for different planes. So attackers will spawn at 1,000 meters elevation, or altitude, excuse me. Bombers will spawn at 3,000. Long-range bombers, so heavy bombers, will be spawning at 4,000 meters. Interceptors will be spawning at 2,000 meters, and air defense fighters will be spawning at 3,000 meters. And any last-minute additions?
No, man, you covered everything.
All right.
I
Oh, and I almost
nothing.
forgot, they're adding some new camos. early German tanks are getting a desert camo. The Russians are getting 3-color, desert 3-color, desert 2-color, and desert winter camo. And British are getting the El Alamein camo and the North African 2-color camos. And I'm hoping that those are going to be researchable by getting the kills with the vehicles as per usual, instead of having to only buy them. So
That's definitely coming to war.
yeah.
Warrior.
Okay.
I'm not enjoying
All right.
that.
All right.
It's gone for much longer than you think, but
That
very
went
good.
definitely longer than
fleshed out
planned,
conversation.
but shorter than the previous episode, though.
Much.
So that'll do it for this episode. Stay tuned for episode 3, and see you guys next time.
Yeah.
Bye.